get high. They can get them to celebrate Christmas. That's why it says that's frontlets between your eyes. Imagine like a horse that has a thing on his face where it can only look to the left or to the right. That's what the frontlets between your eyes, where you can't look left or right. You can only look forward. That's how the law has to be in your brain. That's the point of 18 and the point of Revelations 13 and 18. And here's the bigger part. Revelations 13 and 18 is not talking about you and I. Technically, it could be talking about me from a merchant because I own a business. But this is a merchant's, this is about merchants. This is about real business. This ain't about you going to the store and being able to buy a bag of Doritos. That's not what it's talking about. And when you read Revelations 18, when it says, and the merchants shall bewail her from afar off, when they see her burning, it's the merchants that it's talking about. The people that they will put embargoes on if they don't do business with them, if they don't be Christian like them, if they don't bow down to them. That's who it's talking about. It's never talking about us. We think, like, black people be thinking, right, we're so big of, excuse me, our people, I should say, think that we're so big that reading this is talking about you and I. It's not talking about you and I. The whole chapter is talking about powers. The 7 heads and 10 horns, the 7 heads represents the Edomite powers. The 10 horns represents the Edomite smaller powers or markets that come out of the 7. It's talking about power. It's not talking about the peons. We're the peons at the bottom that's going to take the grovel of whatever the powers decide is left for us. It's not talking about that, brother. So it's not a microchip. Now, if you want to go and believe it, now, with that said, if they was to ever come out with an RFID chip that you got to put in your body, nobody is to take it. But that's not the mark of the beast at all. To even say that it's the mark of the beast, you know that means you're still waiting for the beast. That means the beast ain't here yet then. You understand, brother?
I got your point of view, but I mean, I still gotta.
Hey, then you should go. No problem. No problem. Was there anything else?
Because honestly, I still believe it's the RFID chip. But
Listen, man, go with it. That's your rapist apostle that teaches you, and you can go believe it, brother. Get high.
Right.
They can get them to
This nigga.
celebrate Christmas.
Shalom. First thing and foremost, I'm going to give all praises and glory and honor that's due to Yahweh Ba'ashim, Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashim Rakakadash. Double honors to the apostles and elders, glory, millstone, and rule well. Peace and blessings and salutations to the hopeful elect. Those in the gospel, broad, lifting up the standard of Yahweh Ba'ashim, Yahweh Shai, wherever it may be. This is another quick lesson through the spirit, going into this big ugly clown right here. This dude is a clown, man. You know, and it clearly has a lot of bitterness in him because he said something that was just completely slanderous at the end of the video, talking about Apostle Tahar, calling him a grapist. Do you know the penalty for a grapist, bro? And how you throwing that term out? And this is why we tell you brothers out there, man, there's a lot of wicked niggas in Israel, and Tazariak is not an exemption to that. Over the years, you know, we've had our going back and forth with these dudes, and it's really about doctrine when it comes to us. But clearly, when we rebuke their doctrine, as I mentioned in the lesson yesterday, they result to slander. Like they say, when the debate is lost, then the loser results to slander. Well, they're already cut, and this is the reason why he's on his rant about how Great Millstone is a bunch of grapists, and that's clearly not true, bro. He studied bringing up the video going back into 2013, 2014, when Bro Polite came up to the apostles down on 34th and 7th, and they was breaking down the lawful age in the ancient world on when you can get a woman. And, you know, it was a young age. You can even Google that. It's between the 12 and 14. Oftentimes, they were married off between 12 and 14 and sometimes 18. But the point is, your wife can be, or your daughter can be married off as young as 14 years old. And this nigga, he's emotional over that because he's always been a simp. Story came out a while ago that when he was studying under us, he always had a problem with us getting on a woman. So it makes a lot of sense as to where his bitterness strides from. But even then, when he was breaking down a whole account of the mark of the beast, for one thing, dumbass, if you go into Revelation, let's get it real quick. Because this dude is fucking slow, bro. Like, you know, and we try to steer from the ad hominems, but some niggas just need to get rebuked with his funny looking ass. But anyway, you go down to Revelation 13 and 18. This clown talking about, or that's talking about higher nation. What did he say? He said something about it's not talking about the man on the totem pole. I mean, the lowest man on the totem pole. So are you saying that they're not going to try to fit humanity with a microchip? Hell, you got people in Sweden. You got people in parts of Europe that already got the RFID chip to even live their lives. So what are you talking about, bro? What make you think they're not finna mandate this thing? All right, but Pete did what this nigga said. He said that Revelation 13 is going into the beast system, which the beast is metaphorical for this system that we're currently in. All right, you got NATO and the EU. All right, which NATO, America, Canada, you know, you got Turkey. You got all these NATO alliance nations that formed a pact with the EU, which EU goes into those 28 nations, which broke down to 10, which you go into Revelation 17, it goes into the 7 heads and the 10 horns, which is predominantly NATO and the EU, Esau's power structure. But then he goes and he says that it's talking about like trading like embargoes on a higher level. It's some bullshit he just said. But if you go to verses fucking stupid nigga, if you go to verses 16, it said he calls it all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their hands on their foreheads, you fucking idiot. What part of that don't you understand, that they're gonna microchip from the greatest to the small? This ain't got nothing to do with no goddamn business, man. Okay, corporations are pushing this on the people. And sooner than later, it will be a requirement to get the chip in order to live life. How fucking hard is that to understand, man? Talk about that's not the mark of the beast, brother. You know why you teach it ain't the mark of the beast? Because you stupid niggas, you got a 501c3, and your fucking leader told you. Basically, Johanna said it. He said it years ago. He said, "Look, you gonna receive a microchip because you want to eat and I want to eat." So basically, he justified taking a chip because he wants to feed his belly. And this simpleton right here, he's going to follow everything Johanna says because they sold out. He's a fucking sellout too, man. All right, don't let all the debates and the profound knowledge that this nigga allegedly have confuse you people. This dude ain't right, man. That's why he was rubbing elbows with the black unconscious community too. You know, talking about that's not the mark of the beast, brother. Then what the fuck is it if it ain't that? Oh, that's not the mark of the beast, brother. We just read it in Revelation 13 and 16. And if you go into that word mark, it goes into a physical insertion of under the skin. Charagma, which means something physically that will be implanted into your skin. So how in the fuck do you not see that? Anyway, the hell with this dude. Dude is a fucking joke, man. Anyway, because basically he's scoffing, talking about your rapist apostle. Nah, nigga, you need to talk about why your leader is telling you that you can do your fucking woman up the butt. How about you talk about that? Telling somebody a fucking rapist, man. You out your goddamn mind, man. If we was actually, or if the apostle Tahar was actually on that, or any of the apostles, or any of the men in Great Millstone, if we was actually doing it, don't you think we'd be under the jail by now, bro? That's why the Lord said that every idle word, you're going to pay. You're gonna eat them words, bro. Just like Polite ate them words, you're going to eat them motherfucking words too, because you ain't off the hook, bro. As many motherfuckers y'all done promoted to get the jab in your congregation. How many people in your congregation dropped dead or got sick because your fucking leader told them to take the fucking vaccine? And see, that's what Israel is not questioning. See, Jake is simple. They'll put you on a pedestal because you sound good in a debate. Fuck a debate. What are you doing for Yahweh Bashim Yahweh Shai? Anyway, this is the book of 2 Peter 3 and 1. It says, "This second epistle, beloved, I now write unto you, in both which I stir up your pure minds by the way of remembrance, that ye be mindful of the words which were spoken before by the prophets, and of the commandment of us apostles of the Lord and Savior, knowing this first, that there should come in the last days scoffers." And he's scoffing. Okay, for one thing, you broke down Revelation 13 wrong, and you completely butchered verses 16 through 18. Talking about That's not talking about the lower man on the totem pole. Then why did it say free and bond, rich and poor? I thought a poor person was the person on a totem pole. And also break down how the fuck do you buy and sell with Christianity? How do you buy and sell with that? Y'all still ain't broke that down. If it's not the chip, how do you buy and sell? Because clearly a fucking Christian can clearly see Revelation 13 and 16 is talking about the mark of the beast. But the reason why you're so contentious towards it is because, for one thing, you sold out. You got a 501c3, and on top of that, you have an affinity. You have affinity, or you have hatred in your heart for GMS, and that's the reason why you're saying what you're saying. So you willing to catch a missile right on top of your ugly ass face because you hate another group that's more deeper than you in knowledge. That's all it's about. Everybody wants to be the top guy. He knows that he ain't got 100% true. He knows that. But he's on the, he's whatever, man. Anyway, knowing this first, that there should come in the last days scoffers walking after their own lusts and saying, where's the promise of his coming? And he's going to be the same guys, man, that's going to leave you dudes high and dry out there. Okay, when all hell break loose, hey, this guy, man, hey, you'd be surprised if he even be around. The Most High is getting ready to wipe all these pawns off the board in a minute, because they're not coming in the spirit of Yahweh Shem Yahushua. This dude clearly just slandered us, man. Talking about your grape is apostle. Do you know that if you get locked up for that and you have that badge of shame on you, do you know what will happen to you? Even that punk Polite, he sent the Bloods and Crips at us talking about what we're doing and what they're going to do to us, not knowing that them Bloods and Crip niggas have a history on being homosexuals and graping and sleeping with their nieces and all that other madness, man. Sleeping with their daughters and shit. But they got the audacity to try to slander us for something that we was bringing out in the ancient world that was lawful, and there was a law on it in case it did happen. See, he's playing off the emotion of you simpletons out there. That's why a lot of you dudes are emotional, man. You know? And it says, saying, where's the promise of his coming? For since the fathers fell asleep, all things continue as they were from the beginning of creation. It says, for this they are willingly are ignorant of, that by the word of the Most High the heavens were of old, and the earth standing out of the water and in the water, whereby the world that then was being overflowed with water perished. That's the first death. Okay, the flood. The same wicked behavior that's happening today was taking place before the flood. When Noah was out there prophesied and letting them know that there was going to be a flood, people scoffed Noah because they was like, there ain't no fucking flood. Earth never flooded before. What are you talking about? We ain't even seen rain. That ain't how it happened. And then when it came to pass, and then bam, everybody was shocked by it. It says that the Lord sealed the ark, man. You know, same thing today. When all hell break loose, and when this mark of the beast, this RFID chip becomes mandated, he gonna put his foot in his mouth, and I want to see him grease his ass out of there. You know, talking about the law, the law, the law. But nigga, you get your beard lined up, so that's against the law. Fucking hypocrite. And it says here, but the heavens and the earth, which are now by the same word, are kept in store, reserved unto fire against the day of judgment, of perdition of ungodly men. And that's the ungodly man right there. Talking about your grape as apostle. That's wickedness, man. That's straight up bullshit, bro. And he clearly knows that's not the case. Hell, even the IUIC came out at a point in time and apologized about that. But see, Jake, that's why you had to have, this is why Yahweh Shai set up opposition, man. Okay, you got to have men like this just so the Lord can be justified on destroying them, because at the end of the day, this is all about the straight gate. Okay, it's all about going through straight gate. So you got to endure slander. You got to endure people pissing on your name, you know, because we brought out the law on, Deuteronomy 22 and 28. And these guys got so emotional by it to the point they just start saying, oh, y'all this, y'all that, y'all this, y'all that. But then they get on us for rebuking them. And we really just get on them about the doctrine. Okay, it's never really personal or anything personal in brothers' lives, because, you know, everybody got the shit that they deal with in their life. So we don't really try to go there and dig and attack people's lives. That's their business. But for whatever reason, people want to bring out the dirt and say all manners of evil towards us because we just correct the doctrine, which shows you that Jake ain't got thick skin, man. So what happens when a persecution come and Esau starts to really slander you and put you out there as something that you're not. Because the same shit that you talk about us is going to be taught upon you, man. It's going to be recompensed upon your own head. And you guys are carnal, so you're going to deal with the carnally. And there's going to be a fate for that. You know? Matter of fact, what Yahweh Shai say? Heap hot coals. What the fuck, man? Let's see what Yahweh Shai said here. Hold up. Let me see if I can find it real quick. Bear with me, brothers. Salakia. Here we go right here. Romans 12 and that's a good one. But let's start at verses. Romans 12. I mean, this is pretty good, but let me see this decent precept. Yeah, let's start at verses 17. And it says, recompense to no man evil for evil, providing things honest in the sight of all men. And if it be possible, as much as lieth in you, live peaceably with all men. So ideally, you know, we try to be peaceable with these other jakes, man. All right, now we see another Israelite camp. We're not going to go bust them upside the head and, you know, do all this other stuff. That ain't how we going to get down, man. You know, that ain't how we get down. And we rebuke you and stuff like that. But, like, you know, if you see another Israelite, yeah, you're going to shalom them. You're going to shalom them. Now, IUIC, I won't even shalom them niggas, man. I'm not even cap. Because they don't come in the spirit of Yahweh Shai anyway. You know, but like if I seen like a, well, I don't even know Sakari, because I mean they still teach, if they're still around, they don't teach Gentiles can, you know, be saved. They teach pretty much what we teach for the most part. But you know, we see ISUPK or whatever, you know, brothers that come in a likewise doctrine, similar doctrine. We at Shalom. I remember like years ago, I remember we was out here prophesying, and the UPK, man, they walk past us and they ain't even Shalomers, bro. You know, they ain't come over and bid Godspeed. They didn't. They just had that fuck y'all niggas, man. So, you know what? It's a fuck you too. It's just that easy. It's just that simple. And that's not rendering evil for evil. That's just saying, okay, we shake the dust off and be done with it. Okay, we ain't going to go and attack these guys' schools and say, oh, man, we're not going to do that. But it says here, dearly beloved, avenge not yourselves, but rather give place unto wrath. For it is written, vengeance is mine, I will repay, says Yahweh. Therefore, if thy enemy hunger, feed him. If he thirst, give him drink. For in so thou shalt reap coals of fire on his head. But not overcome of evil, but overcome evil with good. And these guys, man, they're not overcoming evil with good, because the minute we say something or go against the doctrine, then they come with their slanderous accusations, man. You know, and that's really all that it is. That's why the Lord said every idle word will not go unaccounted, roughly paraphrasing. Matthew 12. And let's start at verses 34. It says, O generation of vipers, how can ye, being evil, speak good things? It says, for out of the abundance of the heart the mouth speaketh. And these men have evil sown in their hearts. Okay, they may come off as being prolific or these noble stand-up guys, but really they're wolves in sheep's clothing. That's all that they really are. All right, their best interest is not of the flock. They don't care about the flock, man. They only care about getting paid. And it says, and if a good man bringing out treasures of the heart, bringeth forth good things, and an evil man out of the evil treasure bring forth evil things. But I say unto you that every idle word that men shall speak, they should give an account thereof in a day of judgment. It says, for by thy words thou shalt be justified, and by thy words thou shalt be condemned. And these men, they're going to fall upon their own sword, especially teaching the mark of the beast the incorrect way, because clearly the mark of the beast is the chip, but he said it has nothing to do with the small man on the totem pole. But in Revelation 13 and 16, it says he calls it all both small and great, rich and poor. So that deals with the low men, the poor man. The bondman. Niggas in prison. All right, you want to get out of there, you gotta, prison. Proverbs 10, and I'm gonna end at 10, and I'm gonna start at verses 18. It says, "He that hideth hatred with lying lips, and he that uttereth slander is a fool," man. All right, and he's a fool. So I'm gonna end it. All praises and glory and honor that is due to Yahweh, Bashim Yahweh Shai, Bashim Kakadash, Lord's will, you are edified. To the next lesson. Shalom.